Hi, thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well today. I'm sort of doing okay. Lots of different things happening in my life at the moment, so it's all over the shop a little bit, as it normally is. And as I've sort of said in the past, busyness takes over, and and really takes a toll on us, and we forget the things that are really important. This video is really just a little bit about some of the stuff that I'm sort of going through. One of my goals at the beginning of the year, or one of my habits that I wanted to change, was really around fitness and just being a little bit more active, and just learning a little bit more about some of the stuff that sort of impacts us as we go along. And obviously exercise is a huge thing when it comes to your mental health as well. You can't have good mental health without physical health. And there's a lot of things that we sort of do that can actually sort of impact our mental health without actually realizing it as well. And they can also have an impact on then our physical health, obviously, on top of that. So in the course of my reading and looking at books and just trying to understand a little bit more about my own personal health journey, it was something that I came across that that I found quite fascinating. And it's probably things that people know, but they may not be aware of how much it is having an impact on us as well. And really, the thing that I want to sort of talk about is sitting. It's just a simple act, and most of us do it every day. We have become, just our society has sort of changed very much to sort of office worker rather than blue collar worker and those sort of things. And we are probably predominantly now a sitting culture, whether we're sitting in front of our computers, sitting in front of our TV, sitting for dinner, sitting watching something on whatever device that we might be looking at. Whenever we're doing interacting with our social media, we're probably sitting. And we've also become a sitting culture in terms of, we do go out to dinner a little bit more and those sort of things. So for a lot of us, we are in a sitting culture. And sitting culture, sitting has a different sort of impact on us from a physicality point of view as well. Even though we don't seem to be doing much, there are actually impacts of sitting down all the time. And that's why you'll sort of see in a lot of offices these days, there's the stand desk. But, when I was in an office that had that, you still saw very few people actually take the option of the standing option of that at that desk. Some people might have been a height thing. I'm fairly tall, so for me, I needed an extra tall desk. Otherwise, it actually had an impact on my back. I know that some people stood because they did have back problems, and standing actually helped them to overcome that as well. But there's a couple other things that that sitting does for us that we probably are not so much aware of. And some of them are a little bit surprising, and some of them are probably obvious. One of the obvious one is obviously that it does reduce your fitness. You're not using your muscles as much because you're stationary. Your legs are basically all they're doing is out in front of you, and you're not doing it. And that's why the sit-stand desk is then to bring your leg muscles into play and actually start to use them a little bit more. So from that sort of point of view, the sit-stand, even if you just do, and when I was talked about it with a health and safety officer, they sort of said doing it after lunch is a good time because it fights off that fatigue feeling that you get after you've just had a meal. So you stand then, it means that you sort of wake yourself up a little bit more. So doing it after lunch, maybe for an hour or so, is actually a good time to do that sit-stand stuff. So that can actually have a positive impact. Also, muscles, when they're used, are more likely to burn off calories than if they're just stationary and not doing anything. So sitting actually has that impact on that fitness level. Also, obviously, when you take that further, when you've got fitness, when you've got sitting a lot of the times, I think although there's all of these talks about ergonomics and stuff like that, I think there's some people that take that seriously, and I think it is quite serious, but there are quite a lot of health issues around sitting and not sitting properly. Neck is one area that constantly gets mentioned because we have this sort of tendency to put our head forward and look at our computer like this, instead of actually sitting up straight and sitting back in our chair and using lumbar support and all of those things to sit properly, having our hands at the right level. Sometimes we're not supporting our hands, we're holding them up, maybe the mouse is too far away. And so we do actually get muscle strain. And sometimes when we're sitting and we're just using our mouse all the time, we can get RSI and those sort of things as well. But also, again, because you've got that fitness concern, you're not actually then using those muscles, and they can sort of, then you can have other health issues as well, because you're not actually doing those active things. One thing that I certainly did when I was at work, I always, every lunchtime, unless it was absolutely pouring down, I would go for a walk. 30-minute walk. It induced some exercise during the day. It actually got you out in the sunshine, which is also quite important, get that vitamin D. But it also just meant that the muscles, all of the muscles, especially the leg ones, actually got some work, and they were actually then being used during that day. It did actually help me to sort of just wake up a little bit as well, get out of that environment. Because sometimes with the recycled air and the air conditioning, it can sometimes be a little bit not so good for you from a health point of view. One of the other things that sitting does, which I was not aware of, it actually increases appetite. So you're more likely to eat. And then with your